الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين ومن تبعهم بإحسان ودعا بدعوتهم إلى يوم الدين أما بعد. So alhamdulillah, we have a few minutes, short time before we start the words regarding one of the fundamental and basic qualities of the believer. And without this quality, the deen of Allah cannot spread. Without this quality, the deen of Allah cannot spread. Before Allah migrated to Medina, and the Ansar, they traveled from Medina to Mecca to play that when you come, just as we protect our women and children, that we will. And in that pledge, that promise that the Ansar gave to Medina to protect the Messenger of Allah, and just as they protect the women and children, Allah made the Ansar take is that once the Muslims from Makkah, Allah, this was one of the pledges that the Muslims took in the hands of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that they will spend from their money to develop the community in Medina. Because imagine if Medina was an open land, there's no masjids, there's no facilities, it's immersed. The fundamental thing that all the Muslims must do, they must take out from their pockets, they must spend for developing Medina into an Islamic community. And this is why says in Surah Al-Baqarah, Allah begins the Quran by explaining who the believers are. Allah says, believers have belief in the unseen. And then, so we can't be believers, we can't be Muslims. And then Allah says, وَيُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةِ, and then they establish the salah. We understand the importance of Iman. And Allah says, ينفقون, and the believers are those who spend from that which you have given them. They spend. So these three qualities Allah begins the Quran with. These are three fundamental and basic qualities of the believers. Number one is salah. And one thing to know is the action of Iman. Allah says يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ, that they believe. And then also وَيُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةِ, that this is meaning what, and before in Arabic they spend from English language as whatever, anything that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala given us. Sometimes we'll have of Allah, think, you know what, when Allah gives you £1 million, you know, I'll spend £1,000 from it, you know what, don't worry, it's coming. Or I'll spend this. When Allah, you know what, then I'll spend. Allah is telling us here, in the past tense, in the past, يُنْفِقُونَ, that they spend and they continue to spend. The beautiful thing about is saying the job of the His ni'mah and His mercy and His blessings, Allah has distributed His ni'mah, and this ni'mah, every responsibility. Every single blessing of Allah comes with a responsibility. So Allah has given knowledge. Now and he ignores the rest of the community and he's in salah, dhikr, tahajjud, this person, why he can use it for the sake of Allah, in the community, to teach the people. So now if we are to teach others and spend that's Allah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So each and every single one of us is required to spend Allah. If Allah spend that for the sake of Allah. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us Islam and promoting Islam and spreading Islam, we have to understand that each and every single one of us will have necessities. We all have desires and we have necessities. A true believer, and this is what we need to aspire towards. So we have a nice and having mind, I have a desire for 6 I desire to work. These are my desires. And but the Sahaba, this is the level we as humans, we have desires. The deen of Allah, this deen also has desires and it has necessities as well. And the Messenger, he tried to make necessities in life to minimal. That in fact the deen are and this is the Sahaba, and this is the example that they adopted. In the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he makes an announcement that we need the believers to spend. Between us. So my chance. Imagine the people donate and someone goes and brings it all to the masjid, and this is for Allah and for the community. I'm going to bring all this wealth, and he brings the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the messenger, and he said, and Abu Bakr, what have you left behind for your family? And then it says his famous statement that I left behind Allah and His Messenger. I have left behind Allah. So this was the Iman of the Sahaba. This is what the Prophet ﷺ instilled within the companions. And this is not just that of the Allah and purchased and bought and so today the believers, their belong to me. You know what was the dua that the Prophet ﷺ taught us? In the first wa inna ilayhi raji'un, that we belong. So even if Allah comes to us, away wealth, الملك من تشاء, تؤتي الملك من تشاء, you give whoever you want, and so instilled within the community, verses again and again and again urging the believers that it's our responsibility to spend for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and develop our community with this iman. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, وَأَنْفِقُوا فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ وَلَا تُلْقُوا بِأَيْدِيكُمْ إِلَى التَّهْلُكَةِ. Allah is urging the believers, spend for the sake of Allah, spend in the path of Allah, and do not put yourselves into destruction. Another verse Allah says, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا, O you who believe, أنفقوا مما رزقناكم من قبل أن يأتي يوم لا بيع ولا حل ولا شفاعة. That, O you who believe, spend from that which I provided you. Before a day comes, there won't be any spending. Before a day comes, you won't be able to spend a single penny of your wealth. There won't be any friendship, there won't be any intercession. Allah gives another example. Allah says, مَثَلُ الَّذِينَ يُنْفِقُونَ أَمْوَالَهُمْ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. The examples of those who spend their wealth in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah says, كَمَثَلِ حَبَّةٍ. It's like a person who plants a seed. أَنْبَتَتْ سَبْعَ سَنَابِلٍ. And then what happens is from this one seed, 7 ears of corn they grow. And with every ear of corn, there's 100 seeds. Meaning for one penny that you spend, Allah multiplies it by 700 times. Allah, for one single penny that you spend, Allah multiplies this by 700 times. In the Quran, Allah describing the quality of the Sahaba radiallahu anhum. How does Allah describe them? He says, تَتَجَافَى جُنُوبُهُمْ عَنِ الْمَضَاجِعِ يَدْعُونَ رَبَّهُمْ خَوْفًا وَطَمَعًا. That the companions of the Messenger of Allah were those people that their sides are always separated from their beddings, meaning at night. Their sides are separated from their bedding. Why? يَدْعُونَ رَبَّهُمْ. Because they're busy calling their Lord. خَوْفًا وَطَمَعًا. In fear of their Lord and desire to meet their Lord. Meaning the Sahaba, there were those who performed the Salah the whole night. And what does Allah follow up? What was the second and most foremost quality within the Sahaba? وَمِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ يُنْفِقُونَ. And they spend from that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given them. Allah praises the action of the Sahaba and the generosity. In one incident, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed verses praising the companions. Imagine Allah Rabbul Alameen, the Lord of the entire universe, who doesn't have a beginning, does not have no end, praising mortals for their qualities. Imagine such praise. One incident, a person comes to the masjid of the Messenger of Allah, and he says that, I need some food, I don't have anything to eat tonight. So the Messenger of Allah makes an announcement that who is it that will look after this person as a guest tonight? And the Messenger of Allah said, I don't have anything in my house to feed this person with. And one companion said, you know what, I'll take him to my house, let's see what I've got. And so he takes him, it's a famous incident, I'm sure we've all heard of this. So he takes him to his house, and then he asks his wife, so he goes to the back of the house, he asks his wife, we've got a guest, and he's a guest of the Messenger of Allah. So what do we have to feed this person? And his wife says, the only thing we have in our house is a bowl of milk, and this is for the kids, for them to go to sleep with. Imagine how poor they were. They weren't living in luxurious houses like us. They weren't living in luxurious houses like us. We can choose whenever we want. We eat whenever we want. We eat whatever we want. Today, let's say I wake up for breakfast, I've got a choice of 10 types of biscuits. I can have a sandwich, I can have this, I can have this. Our choices are limited. But imagine this person only has a bowl of milk, and still he takes a guest to his house to be charitable to him. And he says to his wife that put the children to sleep and put a pot of boiling water there. So they think that it's milk, and while it's boiling, let them go to sleep. And then give me the milk, we'll feed it to our guests. So he turns off the lights. He takes one bowl of milk, and he takes an empty bowl for himself. So he sits down with his guest, and he puts the bowl of milk in front of his guest, and he puts an empty bowl in front of him, pretending to drink. And he tells his guest that drink to your fill. Allah loved this incident so much. Allah reveals to us, وَيُؤْثِرُونَ عَلَىٰ أَنفُسِهِمْ وَلَوْ كَانَ بِهِمْ خَصَاصَةٌ. That the companions are those who prefer others over themselves, even if they may attain poverty. That they prefer others over themselves, even if they may attain poverty. This is how the Messenger of Allah nurtured the community, to understand that our lives and our wealth does not belong to us, it belongs to the deen of Allah. This deen of Allah, and I mentioned it in many of my talks before, we need to have this protective jealousy for the deen of Allah. We need to own this deen. Abu Bakr said, أَيَنْقُصُ الدِّينُ وَأَنَا حَيٍّ. Can a deficiency come in this deen while I'm still alive? We use our intellect to preserve this deen. We use our wealth to preserve this deen. We use our health to preserve this deen. Today we sit here every single imam, every single Friday. During the khutbah, who are we praising? Who do we praise? We are taking names of Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu. The person I said who bought his entire wealth? Every single imam is mentioning the name of Abu Bakr, mentioning the name of Umar. Arham ummati bi ummati Abu Bakr. That the most merciful of my ummah is Abu Bakr. وَأَشَدُّهُمْ فِي أَمْرِ اللَّهِ عُمَرٌ. Most stern in the commandments of Allah is Umar. وَأَصْدَقُهُمْ حَيَاءً Uthman. The person the most modesty is Uthman. وَأَقْدَاهُمْ Ali. The one who is most just is Ali. Why are we taking these names? What made these companions valuable? These companions didn't become valuable to us in the sight of Allah because they had good businesses, because they lived in lavish houses, because they lived comfortable lives. They became valuable in the sight of Allah because they spent their health, their wealth, and their time for the sake of Islam flourishing in the communities. Because they spent these three things for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Their health, they gave whatever they had. From personally, whatever they had, they strained themselves, they exerted themselves until they couldn't finish themselves even any longer. They gave their health, they gave their wealth, they spent for whatever they had, and they gave their time for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because they spent these three things not behind themselves, but because the necessities of the deen of Allah became more important to them, even their own necessities. That's when the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, they became valuable. Until to such an extent that till today we are talking about them. If we look today, how many of us actually know our great-great-grandparents? How many of us know our ancestors that lived? How many of us even know their names? They're completely forgotten. Imagine 100 years from now, this masjid may stand, but none of us here will be here 100 years from now. Our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren may be here. How many of them will now remember our name? How many of our great-grandchildren or great-great-grandchildren will remember our name? This masjid will stand, this building will probably still be here, but none of us will be here. But what will remain is our name and the good deeds that we used to do. That's what will be remembered. Now we have to ask ourselves, my teacher used to say, and it's an amazing quote, and I remind myself of this all the time. He used to say, don't live this world, don't become a stain in this world. Leave a mark in this world, not a stain. Do not leave a stain in this world, you leave in this world a mark. That when you leave, people will remember you. That this person was alive, alhamdulillah, the community benefited so much from this person. If you have knowledge, you spend that for the community. If you have wealth, you spend that for the community. Whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you, our efforts and our joint efforts need to be towards establishing our community. And for this, we need to be full-heartedly. When the verse لَن تَنَالُوا الْبِرَّ حَتَّى تُنْفِقُوا مِمَّا تُحِبُّونَ was revealed, that when Allah revealed this verse in the Quran, that you will never attain righteousness or piety until you spend from that which is beloved to you. When this verse was revealed, imagine if I'm hearing this for the first time, that you can't become pious in the sight of Allah until you give away what you love. What happened to me? What will condition in my heart when I hear that? I'm like, you know what? In the future, I'll give something. Sahaba, when they heard this, they went to the house and they started thinking, how do I attain righteousness? What should I give away? Umar radiallahu anhu, he comes to the Messenger of Allah, and basically Umar radiallahu anhu is given a lot of land after the conquest of Khaybar. He comes to the Messenger of Allah and says, "O Messenger of Allah, this land that I have is the most beloved thing to me. What should I do with it?" Imagine, this land is the most beloved thing to me. What should I do with it? And the Messenger of Allah tells him, I give it as wealth for the sake of Allah. That the believers after you continue to use this. And he says, I've given it for the sake of Allah. Imagine such iman, imagine such generosity. Imagine such desire to benefit the community. And likewise, they say, the son takes after the father. The son takes after the father. Abdullah, the son of Umar, is no different. Abdullah ibn Umar, he was famous for, all the companions they knew him for, that he would give away for the sake of Allah whatever he loved. Whenever he loved something, he would give it away. In those days, they had abundance of slaves. Having slaves, don't see that's anything bad. It was something normal and it was part of society. You know what the slaves would do? His slaves would try and please him the most. The slaves would try and get him his good books and try and please him the most. You know why? Because once he becomes a favorite, he's going to set him free. So that's what the slaves would do. So once Abdullah ibn Umar, he was very ill, to act upon this verse. So just look at the desire and how the mindset of the Sahaba was. Once he was very ill, Abdullah ibn Umar. And when you're ill, something will happen, you feel like having something that you generally don't have. You have a craving. So someone else, people around him, everyone's around him, he wanted great companions. He said, what can we get you? What do you want? And Abdullah ibn Umar said, I want you to fish. So this is deserts. So this is desert land. And this isn't so easy to acquire. So after so much effort and time, someone got him a fish. And this was the most desired thing at the time for him. And then so a beggar knocks on the doors. And he says, we need some food. We don't have any food. And the only thing that he had in his hand was a fish. And he thought to himself, what? He thought, I can give him something else. But if I give him something else, I'm not going to be acting upon this verse of Allah. The most beloved thing to me right now in terms of food is his fish. And he gives it away for the sake of Allah. So this is how Abdullah ibn Umar was. And this is how generally Sahaba radiallahu anhum was. This is how Allah and the Messenger of Allah nurtured the community to give precedence and to give priority to the needs and necessities of this deen. Is what I'm going to finish with. So we all need to become such people that we have necessity. I'm going to repeat what I said in the beginning, that we all have our own needs and we have our own desires, but we forego our own needs, we forego our own desires, and our desires and our own personal needs become nothing. Our own personal needs and desires become nothing. My own comfort becomes nothing. My own hunger becomes nothing. My own physical pain becomes nothing in front of what? In front of the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That I can tolerate any hardship. I can give up anything because it's for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us all the ability. I'm going to finish a bit earlier today, because some of from the management inshallah will speak to you as well, speak to the congregation as well. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the ability to have prioritized the deen of Allah in our communities, to give from our wealth and to give whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ameen wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillah.